Imagine waking up, and the sun never went down. Not yesterday. Not last week. Not ever. There is no sunset. No darkness. No calm reset where the world cools down and breathes again. On Ti's planet, daylight doesn't leave. It stays. The sky remains bright. The heat keeps pouring in. And the most insane part is, this isn't science fiction. A planet like this can exist for real. But the cost of it is brutal, because most people picture a planet like Earth. It spins. One full rotation gives you day and night, and everything gets a chance to warm up and cool down. Balance, rhythm, a natural reset, but this world doesn't work like that. It's locked, trapped, frozen into a position where one side faces its star forever, and the other side never sees light at all. This happens because gravity can literally slow a planet's rotation down until it locks one face toward the star. It's the same concept as the moon and Earth. The moon rotates, yes, but it rotates at exactly the same pace that it orbits. So it always shows us the same side. One face permanently points toward Earth. The other face is hidden from us. Now take that exact idea and apply it to an entire planet, except the thing it's locked to isn't Earth. It's a star. That effect is called tidal locking, and once it happens, a planet becomes two completely different realities glued onto the same sphere. One hemisphere becomes permanent day, permanent light, permanent heating. The other hemisphere becomes permanent night, permanent darkness, permanent freezing. And here is the universal rule that makes this so disturbing. Temperature isn't just hot or cold. Temperature is flow. Energy in, energy out. On Earth, the sun warms us during the day, but night gives the planet time to release heat back into space. Even in the hottest deserts, the sun disappearing for a few hours changes everything. The air relaxes. The ground cools. The winds shift. Life breathes. But on this planet, there is no pause. On the daylight side, energy arrives non-stop. Not a hot day. A constant beam of heating that never stops. And as more energy pours in, the atmosphere reacts. It expands. It rises. It starts moving like a system that's trying to survive a problem that never ends. Meanwhile, on the night side, anything that could hold heat loses it relentlessly. No sunlight. No steady warming. No recovery. The darkness isn't a cold climate. It's an endless drop in temperature until the surface becomes permanently frozen. So, you end up with something that feels impossible. A planet with one side burning and the other side locked in ice, like half a world on fire, and half a world dead. But the most important place isn't the bright side or the dark side. It's the line between them, because there's a razor-thin region between eternal day and eternal night, a zone that lives in permanent twilight. The sun is never directly overhead, but it never fully disappears either. Not daytime, not nighttime, just a constant, eerie in. That strip has a name. The Terminator Zone. Some call it the Twilight Belt. And if there's any place on this planet where something could survive, it's probably there. Not comfortable, not stable, but it's the only region where the heat won't kill you in minutes, and the cold won't freeze you in hours. But now the planet turns into a machine of chaos, because the atmosphere will not accept that division quietly. Hot air rises. Cold air sinks. The entire world becomes an engine trying to shove energy from one side to the other. Permanent light creates massive pressure. Permanent darkness creates a gravitational sink of cold, dense air. And the planet responds with winds that don't exist on Earth. Not breezes. Corrections. Violent. Constant. Corrections. A planet trying to fix itself. And that's where the real question appears. If one side is too hot and the other side is too cold, what happens in the middle? The answer isn't a nice climate. The answer is a war zone, because that middle strip is where the hot world and the cold world collide. It's where the atmosphere fights. It's where storms become permanent. It's where the planet's energy imbalance becomes visible. In the next block, you'll see why this world would have constant endless cloud walls, oceans that migrate across the planet, and a habitable zone that might also be the most dangerous place to live. Because on this planet, the weather doesn't change. It fights. Now imagine standing right on that boundary. To your left, a bright sky and a sun that never moves away. To your right, a black sky that never receives light. And you're not walking from day into night, like on Earth. You're walking between two permanent worlds. Because this planet doesn't spin like a clock. It spins like a prison. And this is where the anomaly becomes serious. Because when light is trapped on one side and darkness on the other, the planet can't balance itself with time. So it tries to balance itself with motion. Everything that can move, moves. The atmosphere becomes a conveyor belt. On the daylight side, air heats up, expands, and rises hard. It surges upward and flows toward the dark side at high altitude. And when it finally reaches the night hemisphere, it loses heat, like it's being sucked directly into space. The air becomes heavy, dense. It drops. It sinks back down. Then it crawls along the surface back toward the hot side, a cycle that never stops. A planetary lung breathing, in panic, without ever resting. And when you have air moving like that, you don't have weather. You have atmospheric engineering. The temperature difference between the two sides can be so extreme that it creates permanent storms in the twilight zone. Not storms that happen sometimes. Storms that exist because the planet's geometry forces them to exist. Like a scar made of wind. Now, add an ocean to this world. If liquid water exists, it becomes the most unstable thing on the planet. On the daylight side, water evaporates fast. On the night side, water freezes hard. And that creates something that sounds like fiction, but is pure physics. The ocean can migrate. Water evaporates on the hot side, becomes vapor, gets carried across the sky by superwinds, then falls out as snow or ice on the dark side. Over time, the planet starts stealing its own ocean from the daylight hemisphere and stacking it permanently in the night hemisphere. A slow transfer of an entire sea. And once that begins, everything gets worse, because losing water on the hot side means losing cooling. Less cooling means higher temperatures. Higher temperatures mean faster evaporation. Faster evaporation means more water gets trapped on the cold side. A feedback loop. A planet that slowly dries out on one face and buries itself under ice on the other. So what's left in the middle? The Terminator Zone becomes the last corridor where liquid water could exist. For a while, but that habitable strip isn't peaceful. It's unstable, violent. It's where hot and cold pressure systems collide non-stop. You could get a permanent wall of clouds sitting right on that boundary. And that sounds good. Clouds reflect sunlight. Maybe they cool the planet. But constant clouds also mean constant storms. Lightning, turbulence, endless rain, a climate that never settles into calm. And there's another consequence people don't think about. Time itself stops making sense. On Earth, day and night create rhythm. Plants use light cycles. Animals use darkness. Temperature rises, falls, rises, falls. Life evolves to match that pulse. On this planet, there is no pulse. The bright side never changes. The dark side never changes. And if life exists here, it won't be Earth life with different colors. It would have to evolve for a planet that doesn't rest. If you lived on the daylight side, you wouldn't have afternoons. You'd have constant brightness and heat that never relaxes. If you lived on the dark side, you wouldn't have mornings. You'd have endless cold and a sky that never opens into blue. And if you lived in the middle, you'd live inside a narrow strip where the entire atmosphere fights above your head. And somehow, despite all of this, scientists still consider some tidally locked planets potential candidates for life, because if the atmosphere is thick enough, it can transport heat efficiently. If an ocean is deep enough, it can redistribute energy through currents. If clouds reflect enough light on the hot side, they can prevent total runaway heating. So there's a version of this planet that doesn't collapse. There's a version where the daylight side isn't instant death. There's a version where the dark side doesn't swallow the world in ice. There's a version where the twilight belt becomes a real, stable corridor. But the margin is razor thin. And that's exactly what makes this universe so addictive. It doesn't build planets that are safe. It builds exceptions. Worlds balanced on the edge of breaking. Now, hold on to that thought, because there's another world that takes this idea even further. A planet where the day isn't permanent on one side, but where one single day lasts for years. Literal years. A world where the sun seems frozen in the sky for so long that the concept of routine stops existing. And when the light finally changes, the planet is already something else. In the next video, you're going to see a planet where one day is longer than a child's entire early life. And when you understand that, you realize the universe isn't full of normal worlds. It's full of glitches. It's full of worlds that look broken. And we're only just starting to notice them.